Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well and has had a great weekend. I am sorry, I had to swipe a notification. I am resting. I had to work Sunday. Well, let me just tell you guys about my flight home. It's awful. So, we were supposed to leave Saturday night from Orlando. Our flight was supposed to leave at 9:05. Okay. And that's fine. I knew I had to work the next day at 11 because, like I said in a previous video, as a hairstylist, when you take a week off, you pay for it the week before and the week after, and usually a couple weeks after. So I was like, that's no big deal. I live about an hour away from our airport. That's no big deal. And so I was like, so we get home or land at 12, and then, take me an hour to get home. That's no big deal. I need to love on the dogs a little bit, because they missed me a whole lot. And I would go to bed so I can get up and go to work at 11 the next morning. Well, that didn't happen. What happened was I had a two and a half hour delay. So, all right, there's not much really you can do about that. You just kind of have to say, well, this is the way it is sometimes, and it's flying, right? So we get on the plane, and then we're just sitting there and sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. And I'm like, what's the problem? Like, let's go. I need to get up and go to work in the morning. The plane is full. We've got crying kids on the plane. I'm like, oh, dear God. Are they serving cocktails? Because I'm going to need about 5 for this 2-hour flight. So we're still sitting there. Like a half hour later, we're just still sitting there, and nobody knows why. And that I will tell, if anybody works for the airlines that watches this, I will tell people what's going on. Give us some idea of what's going on so that we're not all like panicked. Number one, you don't know if there's mechanical problems. You don't know if the pilot didn't show up at this point with the airlines. You don't know. So they needed to let us know something, So 45 minutes goes by, and finally they're like, okay, we're getting ready to prepare for takeoff. Everybody make sure your seatbelt's on, blah, 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 blah. And then we had this one flight attendant. She was not friendly at all. She kind of made the flight really bad, extra bad. So now I'm into 3 hours and 15 minutes or whatever it may be. So now I'm not going to get home until 1:30 in the morning, and I have an hour drive home. And so then they ended up telling us what happened. And what happened was the count from when they check you in before you get on the plane didn't match the number of passengers on the plane, which I guess as passengers don't understand all the little things that they have to make sure is going on. And I understand that. We don't need to know all the details. And I understand that they need to know how many passengers are on the plane in case of something happening. They know how many they're looking for, right? Which I hope to God doesn't happen to anybody, but I mean, it does. And so we're like, all right, at least now we have an explanation of something that's going on. So I'm not going to give the name of the airline, but I promise you I will never, ever, ever fly them again. It was the most horrific. I don't want to say horrific. That's not fair. It was a very unpleasant situation. It was my first time flying them, too. Usually I fly another airline, and it's not a big one like you probably might think I'm talking about. Neither one of these are big ones, but they are kind of bigger, but cheaper. I'll just put it to you like that. Cheaper. Okay, so finally, 2.5 hours to fly home, when it usually only takes, on this other airline I usually fly to Florida, because I go to Florida often. 2 hours, a little under 2 hours. But for some reason, with this plane, it took 2.5 hours. So I don't know what the math is there or whatever. Anyway, it just made it that much worse because I knew I had to get up and go to work in the morning. So finally, we get home, and I get home and I have to cuddle the dogs and everything. It's 5 o'clock in the morning before I go to bed, and I have to be up at 9:30 because I have to be at work at 11. So I was pretty tired, really, really tired. But that's my story about that's the only bad thing that happened on my trip. My trip was amazing. Um, it was a lot of fun. I had never Okay, so now I can say where I was because I'm home, but I was in Disney in Orlando, and I had never been. I'm 51 years old. I had never been. Um, and I have decided, since I've been away from a particular person in my life, last year for my 50th birthday, I took myself to Key West. Never been there, always wanted to go. So I conquered that dream. And then my other dream was to go to Disney. Now, I do want to go to Hawaii. That's what I'm hoping to do next year. I definitely will go somewhere next year, or a cruise. I don't know. I'm not real sure what I want to do, and if I can find somebody to go with me. But anyway, so I had a wonderful time at Disney. Disney does not disappoint. They are very, very nice people. Our stay was wonderful where we stayed. We stayed on property. It was just absolutely amazing. It was an amazing trip. Tiring. Again, I'm 51 now, not 50, but I'm 51. And being at parks 5 days straight, open to close, is exhausting. I don't care how old you are. We had a 19-year-old with us, and we spent a lot of time chasing roller coasters. And this girl can't really chase that much at my age. And her mom is my age. Well, actually, a little bit older than me. And we're just like, we're beat. We're beat. So anyway, it was a great trip. It was a friend of mine that I met through my job, and she's a client of mine, and I feel like our bond has gotten even closer. So that trip was really amazing. But other than that, I was off yesterday, and I went to have lunch with my son, my middle son. He is 29. And so I went to have lunch with him. That was great. And today I worked, and I worked a long day today. And then tomorrow and Thursday I'm off. But tomorrow, if you guys remember from a previous video about my worship on the water, it's tomorrow night too. So I'll probably do another little video of worship on the water because those are just fun to do. So anyway, I just wanted to catch up with you guys and let you know about my experience on this airline that I won't say names because YouTube wouldn't like that very well, but I will never, ever fly them again. I don't care how cheap the tickets are. I'll never fly them again. And truly, I felt pretty unsafe and pretty unwelcomed on that flight. So anyway, I hope everyone has a wonderful Tuesday, and I hope to catch you guys tomorrow